Hello fellow audio nerds, I'm Steph, and this is Major Hi-Fi. With Audio-Technica's release of the new limited edition M50X Blue, I just wanted to give this classic headphone some appreciation and some love, and do a full review with it. As you might know, this is one of the classic headphones. Everyone agrees pretty much that this is one of the best bangs for your buck in terms of a really great sounding pair of headphones for just 150 bucks. So let's dig in a little bit with this and give it a full review. So Audio-Technica first released the M50 back in 2007, and at the time it quickly earned this reputation of just being one of the best headphones you could get for the money. It was a little bit different than the M50X. In 2014, Audio-Technica sort of developed the M50 to have a removable cable, and they also sort of mellowed out some of the high frequency stuff, made it a little bit more responsible sounding. And so that's the M50X. Now, each year Audio-Technica releases sort of a limited edition color. This year it's this bright blue color, which is, you know, I had to wear my blue shirt to sort of try and even compete. But as you could tell, this color is stunning and it's super bright, flamboyant, very, very saturated, and at the same time, when you look at it up close, it sort of has this air of like metallicness to it. That's sort of the best way I could describe it. It is loud, you know, but I think it sort of does make a fashion statement in a sense. Even though, you know, the M50X has never really been seen as like a fancy, beautiful looking headphone, because of its reputation in the production world, it sort of can be a fashion statement, because it's so highly respected and its look is so, you know, iconic, if you can say that something 11 years old is iconic. But I think it is, and I think that many people would agree. Now, the M50X has a super robust headband. It's flexible. Its extenders have a layer of metal with plastic underneath it, but the plastic on this thing is like super, super strong. Additionally, there's a strip of padding across the top. It's kind of a thin piece of padding, but it's coated in this soft pleather material, so it's actually quite comfortable. The headband really sort of like hugs your head, not in an uncomfortable way, but just in a way that makes it feel super secure. And yeah, as you might expect, that hugging sensation really adds to the sound isolation of these headphones. One of the reasons why it's a great headphone for recording or doing production work, even if you're in sort of a loud environment. But one of my favorite things about this headband is the yokes. So you can sort of see here, there's this joint that sort of allows these ear cups to turn, and pretty much a full 180 degrees. And then just sort of attached to that, you've got this hinge that allows it to fold up. And you've also got this yoke where the ear cups sort of rest, and these can really, really turn. So it sort of doesn't matter how you want to use the headphones, they can sort of adapt and move to the way that you want to use them, and to the shape of your head also. Now, as I was saying before, these headphones aren't the most like attractive, beautiful, graceful headphone, but in the world of production, their look kind of works. Now, they have this sort of big, large ear cup. I guess it has to be big because it's housing a 45mm driver. But the largeness of these cups isn't such a bad thing, especially when it comes to production, because it fits totally over your ear and really makes an awesome seal. Sometimes wearing that over a long period of time, I find that pressure can sort of build up in there if you're listening kind of tirelessly. But for the most part, I think that the ear pads, the ear cups are really comfortable. Now, the ear pads have this large sort of hole right in the middle. So pretty much any size ear can fit right in these. And so, yeah, they're really comfortable and versatile for a wide variety of different head shapes and ear sizes. The ear cup also houses this little port here for the removable cables. Each M50X comes with 3 cables, so you can sort of adapt it to however and wherever you're listening. There's a curly cable that is, I think it ranges between like 1 meter and 3 meters in length, if it's totally stretched out. You've got another cable which is about 3 meters, it's straight, and then you've got one shorter cable, I think it's 1.2 meters, and each one of them is pretty manageable and standard when it comes to production headphone cables. So listening to these headphones, it's pretty easy to see why people are so psyched on them, because for just $150, they sound really awesome. The first piece of that is it's a low end, which is elevated for sure, and it sort of makes this really nice bed for kick drums and bass guitars, bass synths to have a lot of really awesome energy and really move some air down there. I especially like the way that this low end contributes to things like electric guitars, which despite sort of a frequency cut at like 300 hertz, you still get a lot of really nice energy with those guitars, and they still have this sort of like bigness and bombasticness that you want for certain types of music, especially things like rock and indie music. In addition, there's a cut at like 100 hertz, and as a result of that, you really get some great separation between the low lows of these headphones and then the low mids. Kick drums and bass guitars can both sort of be detailed and have presence, for lack of a better word, still have good energy without stepping on each other's toes, which is sometimes a problem with headphones that don't have such a cut. Now, the low mids of these headphones really flatter mixes, which to me means that these headphones are great for artists who are recording or producers who are writing, as opposed to engineers who are making mix decisions, because it won't necessarily give you like an accurate sense of issues in the low mids, which you kind of need to do. You kind of need that in a headphone when you're mixing. But you know, conversely, the headphones really do a good job of making a mix less cloudy so that you can kind of get into the music without being burdened by anything in the low mids. And for the most part, this works on most genres. The genres that it doesn't quite work with are things that need a very flat mid-range response, things like orchestral classical music, and sometimes, yeah, things like jazz, where you have sometimes, you know, things with kind of bare piano. You want the mid-range to be more flat. But for things like rock, hip-hop, pop, EDM, even folk music and things with, you know, an emphasized vocal, you can really get a lot out of those mixes with these headphones. In particular, there's sort of a boost and really nice detail right around 2 kilohertz. And as a result, vocals sort of sit forward, but they don't really sound louder in the mix. There's a cut again at 5 kilohertz, so those sort of energies balance each other out a little bit, I think. But along with the vocals sort of having extra energy, it also affects drums, and it makes the attack and the transience of drums come through in a super punchy way. So drums sound really great on these, and I think that you know, a drummer would appreciate the sense of good like detail and emphasis, like when you hear the snare and when you hear the kick drum. In the high frequencies, there's a cut at about 8 kilohertz. And this sort of helps these headphones avoid ugly sibilance, which you might find in like female vocals sometimes, like brightly mixed female vocals. I know sometimes y'all are curious, you know, what I'm listening to make judgment calls like this. And one artist I've been really excited about lately is an artist called Margaret Glaspie, and she has a song called No Matter Who. And so that song is really, can really sort of show a headphone's weakness in this area, but these headphones performs really well for sibilants. There's still air to the vocal. There's another boost at like 10 kilohertz, so it still has air, but it's just less ouchy, for lack of better words. In addition to that vocal air, that boosted 10 kilohertz sort of brings out cymbals a little bit, especially like kind of the attack of cymbals. It's not overdone, and while it doesn't work for everything, for the most part, it sounds really good. I'd say one area that I think it doesn't work well with is like jazz cymbals, because you really want sort of an even high end so that you can hear the full overtones of those cymbals, which are often so lush and everything. With this, you won't necessarily get that, but you will get sort of an extended cymbal that kind of rains the sparkly, nice high end down on the rest of the mix. So it's particularly nice with, yeah, rock music, indie music, things where you don't need all the lush overtones of the cymbal. As for Soundstage, I think that the M50X's strongest point with the Soundstage is in its left to right spaciousness. You can get a really awesome sense of positioning in the left to right, and it really contributes to the overall sort of impact, the emotional impact of mixes, because, for example, when a chorus gets really wide and bright, you really feel it go from like here to here, if that makes sense. I know it's a little bit vague, but you can really feel it with these headphones in a way that you can't necessarily feel it with other headphones in this price range. In conclusion, the M50X is a classically great headphone, and I'm just really excited about it every time I hear folks talk about it, because it's sort of rare in any industry that there's like one or two products that most people can afford to invest in a pair of headphones that performs as well as these. So I encourage you to check them out if you haven't had a chance, or you can just spring for them. I mean, they really perform very well, especially if you're listening to the genres I sort of mentioned: rock, hip hop, pop, EDM, that kind of stuff. And if you're feeling a little saucy, go for these blue ones. I mean, look at that color, man. They're really loud in a way that I think might make some envious of your headphones. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe. And of course, if you thought this video was helpful, enlightening, or you just liked it, then press the thumbs up button. All right, everybody, I'll see you next time.